Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined by JP Mason, Russell Boyce and Kevin Graham to have a look back on the match day against St Mirren. Kevin Graham, second away win 4-0. What was your thoughts? Second half a lot better than the first?
Well, I called it at half-time, and I'm not afraid to say that. I says the subs would change the game and St Mirren would tire, and that was exactly the case. Neil Lennon got it right, bringing on Ryan Christie. I need to say that he got it right there. Christie done well for his goal and setting up the other goal as well. It was nice to see Greg Taylor bursting into the box for once, first time that he really done it, and getting the penalty kick. The only bad thing is the injury to Welsh, just to see how bad that is. But overall, we can be quite pleased with the night. There was a lot of positives. We controlled the game, basically. We really did control the game. And maybe 4-0 does really flatter the amount of chances we did create. Though how Eddie missed that one when the ball was cut back and he managed to hit the goalkeeper with it, I'll never know. But we've got to be happy. I think we've got to find out who the barber is in the Celtic camp, because there's too many of them having these skin fades that didn't look 6 weeks old. So hopefully Nicola Sturgeon's not watching that.
Didn't start, Kev.
There's somebody getting haircut.
Somebody put in the comments that they get a barber out to the hotel. So it's all seemingly
kosher.
Kosher. Well, I thought Gordon Marshall was back. I thought Gordon Marshall was back cutting folks' hair.
Kevin, I didn't expect you to be throwing a wee grenade in the works here. It's been bad enough losing Welsh. I hope, and I got a text from JP during that second half, and it really did seem to just sum up our season. Whenever we thought we were getting it back on track, and the man who starts to impress us, with his ankle looked terrible actually when you seen it in slow motion, stretchered off. That was the last thing we wanted to see. But to be fair, and as I says to you, JP, it was only 1-0 when Duffy came on.
Aye. Well, less said about his near, gift for a goal near the end. I can't believe he did that. But I can. But the thing with Welsh. I went over my ankle like that at fives once, and it ballooned up and bruised for weeks, and that was without any contact. So it was just me just going over the ball, and then my ankle just went like that on the turf. And I remember how painful it was, and I remember how long it took me. I was off work for 2 weeks, I think, at that. And my manager was like, "What are you doing still playing five-a-sides?" And I was like 26 at the time or something like that. I was like, "You honestly expect me to stop playing fives at 26 years old?" He was like, "You're too old for that." And I was like, "What?" So yeah, I really, really genuinely hope he's all right, because I was really enjoying watching him, and I feel for him, because this was his run, this was his chance for a run, and now, please God, no Beaton and Duffy centre half, like that. I can't happen.
How many black cats have we run across this season? How much bad luck can you actually get in one season? It's just somebody signed a deal with the devil somewhere. Somebody's cursed us. The 10's cursed.
You were calling me paranoid, at half time there, Kev.
I'm into witch doctors and all of that. I reckon somebody's signed a deal with the devil in blood.
Kevin,
I think they have.
Moving on to Russell. I was saying the last time you were on Monday, actually, that, when we look back on this season, yes, as Kevin says, almost everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong this season. But January will be the month. That will be the pivotal month. You look at the run of results in January, 1 win, 12 points dropped, and yes, a game against Rangers around about the new year, that could have gone either way, but you would expect to beat Hibs and Livingston at home, Livingston away, St Mirren at home. We dropped 12 points in these fixtures. How pivotal is that going to be? That's going to come back and haunt us, Russell.
100%. I really do think as well it's almost there's an inevitability about this car crash of a season, that the points gap is going to be, exactly the number of points we dropped in January will be the difference between the two clubs come the end of the season. That would be really infuriating, because there was an opportunity then, and it'll only be proven even more so now, that there was an opportunity then to make that change. And it also goes, as much as Dubai, and we discussed it at length and all that, but it looks all the more ridiculous now that on the back of it never actually improved performance in the slightest. In fact, they came back with absolutely worse form than what even I think Rangers ever have coming back from Dubai. Do you know what I mean? So it was that poor, and I think that the January month, to me, there was enough there on the fact that Lennon's took full responsibility for that trip. And he did. He says even Lowell shouldn't have apologised. It should have been him. And then obviously he didn't apologise at all. I think that January movement, that whole episode is enough for him to not be in position next season. Sorry. And again, just to quickly finish that up, I just think as well, the encouraging signs that we're seeing tonight as well, I think they were always there. These players have always had this in the locker. How is it taken to mid-February, with not a real title challenge even in the cards anymore, for us to be expressing ourselves and playing like that now? How is it taking that long? That's not good enough.
It really is frustrating. Kevin?
I'll tell you why, Russell, because we're decent players, badly coached. That's why the players need to. We're 11 individuals on that part. We're not a team. And tonight our better players won, and that was the whole hope. That is Lenny Ball. Hope that your better players win.
Lenny Ball. Caplo Mark comes in to say solid performance. Turnbull is without doubt who we rebuild around. Having had quite a quiet first half, JP, he seemed to, rid himself of the shackles. He was being man-marked, and he did have a very good second half. Brilliant to see him on the score sheet, making that run in behind the defence. Brilliant to see Turnbull develop in the way that he has been. And unless you can tell me different, he finished the 90 minutes.
Yeah. No. Did he not go off?
Did he get off?
For
82, I think he got to.
You do see.
Dearie me. Give the boy 90 minutes. Give him 90 minutes.
I mean, I'm not too hung up about whether or not he plays 90 minutes or not. As long as whatever minutes he does get, he does the business in, and he did again tonight. And the whole team, I think there was some comments at half-time that I scrolled through. I'm not sure if it was Facebook, Twitter or YouTube. But it was, they were having a go at us for being negative at half time. We had one shot at goal. The only shot at goal in the entire game at half time was us, and it was a goal. Now, fair enough, we were winning 1-0, and yes, we should be happy at that. But we weren't exactly peppering their goal with shots. So,
see what I've learned though, JP, in this season in particular, is that because a few people have said that, it becomes gospel. So it's okay to say ACSOM or be negative when even you're not being negative. I think that's a nonsense. I actually think it's a nonsense, and I would challenge that. There was no negativity at half time. What you're doing is you're analysing the first half performance. Now, I'm not going to be waxing lyrical because virtually nothing happened in the first half. We controlled possession, So I've got to that stage where you don't take that kind of criticism. I just think people are starting to roll out the same old cliches when it comes to, you're being too negative. And to the point where sometimes you go onto Twitter and, it just becomes tired. If you're going to look at a game from a critical eye, obviously you're going to pick out what's bad as well as what's good. And there was plenty to talk about. But again, no, I wouldn't take that, to be honest with you, JP. Aero 250, we've won convincingly. Pinch me, Turnbull is so effective. Duffy defending is poor as usual. Sometimes it's just the basics from Duffy. Am I allowed to say that, or is that being too negative? Kevin, we've already lost Julien. JP spoke about that as being a moment of the season, and I think he was right, because we did show a bit of form in December. Hopefully we've not lost Welsh. If we do, who do we go for until the end of the season? Do we play Duffy? Do we play with Beaton in there?
I find that negativity thing a bit difficult to handle. I mean, the first half, you can't polish a turd, can you? The first half was dreadful, and we went in 1-0 up. So, you have to call it as you see it. That second half, that whole game, that's why you love football, when you see Tom Rogic doing what he was doing with his feet and taking guys out, creating stuff. That's why we love football. That's why we're quite happy tonight, because we played quite well and scored some goals. But didn't say we were negative at half time, because the first half was terrible. As
No,
as JP rightly says, there was one shot on target the whole game, the whole of the first half, and it was the one that we scored for. So,
the same commenter would complain if you were too positive about beating them 4-0 at this stage of the season. So it just washes right over my head now, to be fair. Michael McKernan, PJ said, that's me, said before the game, what if one of the right backs get injured? What now? And that's what I'm asking you, Kev. What do we do now? Because I'm not convinced with Duffy. He's shown me nothing that would convince me otherwise. Do you go with Beaton? I mean, I've even looked at, I always felt that we didn't play, going back a wee bit further back, we never ever played Lustig enough at centre-half, when you actually consider that he played there for Sweden a fair bit. I don't think we utilised El Hamid enough at centre-half. Is there anybody else who could fit that position? Because I don't think Duffy's the answer between now and the end of the season.
I would rather have Duffy over Beaton, and I can't believe I've just said that, but we're going to say it. I think Duffy's got something to prove. Look, we need to pray to the God of one Archdeacon that nobody else does get injured, or either that we are back, either that we've got to get Anthony Ralston at right back and. Or at centre half, or somebody else there. So I reckon he'll go with Duffy. I do think he'll go with Duffy.
He's always got that mistake just waiting in the wings, you know, if you're up against, and I know we've got another 2 games against Rangers, and these are the ones that concern me slightly. Now, if you want to look at positivity, there we go. We are closer to the 10 than we were this morning. Yes, we are now 18 points behind, 20 goals behind, with another game in hand. Again, before we move on from Turnbull, I think it's right that we celebrate Turnbull. What did he do? Because he was a different player entirely.
I just think he had more space, and probably, as Kev said, that the St Mirren players tired a bit, and therefore they weren't getting as tight to him as they were in the first half. And you know, you saw his pass for the penalty. You know, just wee things like that. You know, that's the difference with somebody like him, where he sees that sort of wee pocket of space and just pokes the ball through. And you know, it maybe was a bit of a soft penalty, but you know, Taylor had made the run. You'd be screaming for it. You know, they would have been screaming for it if it had happened to them. And I saw the reason that the boy got booked. The commentator said, I was watching on Sky. Somebody, you know, complained that I'd mentioned Andy Walker. I was watching it on Sky. Sorry, I don't have Celtic TV. I've got my season ticket thing, but I don't know how people can watch Celtic TV. Is there a thing that you can watch Celtic TV and not Sky? I've missed that.
There isn't a dodgy telly box, aye.
Oh, right, okay. Okay. Well, we'll not mention that then. But the boy was like going like that, as if to say give Taylor a yellow card, and that's what he got booked for, I think, because he got booked, and so did the other boy get booked as well. But I think he's dived, and then the referee went, no, it was a penalty. You're getting a yellow card for saying that. So it was a good finish from Eddie, and that's what. I mean, has Eddie scored five in a row?
5 in a row.
I think this is maybe PJ rather than JP. I know it can get a bit confusing. Why don't you watch the game? I do watch the game, but I've been in since 8 o'clock this morning, so I might have just went away for some water for what's in here, because obviously it's not alcohol.
And thought I wasn't watching on. I watched the game on Sky Sports. I didn't watch it on Celtic TV, so I did watch the game. I'm not giving post-match analysis of the game. I didn't watch that.
I know. I've not noted down that Turnbull was taken off, but you know what? Kevin was watching it on Celtic TV, and we were all sitting waiting on him. That's why he was late, because he was watching it on a stream that was different from the Sky Sports one that I was watching on. Archduke 199. Let's bring this in. Radiohead are depressing. That sketch on Father Ted was on the money. Hail, hail. Come on. Depressing? Radiohead? Uplifting. Uplifting, I would say.
See the comment you put up, Paul, which says that we're being negative because I started talking about haircuts. The comment that you put up a couple of minutes ago. Come on, we're 21 points behind Rangers. What else we got to talk about? It's not as if it matters, Not as if it makes any difference. So
Kev, we're 18 points. We're 18 points. Just 18? So that we're 18 points now. Yes. Let's talk about Christie. At the very beginning of the game, we were chatting around Tom Rogic and his contribution to 90 minutes. I thought Roderick played pretty well tonight. But Christie comes on, and for me, he made an impression. Now, I know that he does divide opinion amongst the Celtic support, even amongst the ACSOM contributors. I call him what's not a big fan. It seems as though he's another one of these players, Russell, that might be away in the summer. You know, with all the changes and potentially a change of management coming in, is Christie not the type of player that you want to rebuild around? And I know that Turnbull's an obvious one, but you've got Sorrow there. I still think Christie can be an influential part of this team.
I definitely agree. I think he could be an influential player, but I don't really want players that don't want to be at Celtic. And my instinct tells me he wants to leave. I'm convinced that he doesn't. He'll want out at the end of the season. I'm basing that on nothing, of course. Just my own intuition is telling me I don't think he wants to be. But when you look at, you're talking about building teams around players. I feel that David Turnbull's the guy that has to be that guy. And I actually thought the intelligence of Tom Rogic really came out tonight. And I thought that Tom Rogic was influential in David Turnbull having such a good second half, because he gave St Mirren such a focus of their attention. That's how Turnbull ended up getting more space. I also have to give kudos to Turnbull in the sense that I think he just sussed his teams out eventually. I honestly think he's that good. I think he went in at half time and it was maybe a quieter performance. He comes back out in the second half, he's worked it out. He's sussed his teams, he's clever. Even his tackles are passes. And then with Christie, it's not always pleasing on the eye. I mean, you were hoping and praying he didn't take the free kicks. You knew it was going to go rose header into the wall. Naturally, it did. But again, what did he get? An assist and a goal. He was only on the park for 25, 30 minutes. It's not a bad return, is it? He's effective, but he's not going to be the focal point the team's built around next year, not when David Turnbull's there.
No, you're right. Bruce FM, you're commenting on YouTube. Oh, thanks for joining us. ACSOM is always balanced and considered. It's important to call things out. I agree with that. And Gary Miller, it's an unfortunate side effect that the more popular your forum becomes, the more you'll all get bad mouth. And I've got to say this again, and again, I'm not blarting it, but we did have 1.2 million viewers over the last 30 days, so it very much is a minority that gives people abuse, although it doesn't make it any more acceptable. I've got to be honest with you, it's something that I've kind of got used to be honest. I think it just goes over my head, but it is unacceptable, and it definitely does need to be called out. And here's a wee bit of positivity from Red Scotland. I have jelly and ice cream. That's normally what Kevin does after a midweek game. Kevin, see when we're looking at away form and the fact that, you know, we've had some really disappointing performances at home this season, and again January was a bad month at home, and we can go to a ground like Rugby Park, which historically has been very difficult, and even, you know, St Mirren Park has been difficult, and we're getting 4-0 wins, and that's the same team that kind of bossed us the other week. We had no response to the very organised unit that Jimmy Goodwin has there. We can't blame it on the fans, you know, having the shackles and not having the fans behind you, etc. So what do you think it is about this Celtic side that has shown in flashes this season their capabilities?
I think it's just the fact that we've got a decent squad. And sometimes they click and other times they don't, and they haven't got that mentality this season. Something's went up this season where when in adversity they've been managed to overcome it. I think there's been too many splits. You have to have a look in the rumours that there's been maybe too many splits in the camps, but we have got the players there. But we've got a massive rebuilding job going in the summer. When you look at Christie, he wants to go down to England. He wants to test himself down there. Ayer's going to be gone. Eddie's going to be gone. So whoever's going to come in next season's got a massive rebuilding job, possibly with very little funds either. There's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing, I reckon. So Celtic need to be smart, and the biggest transfer of the summer has to be the manager. Rather than players. I do think there's a basis of a decent squad there. I mean, you look at tonight, you see Ayeti, he didn't do much in the box, but his hold-up play is okay. He's quite comfortable on the ball, but I just want to see him more in the box. But the way that we play doesn't suit him. The way that we play, we don't see him in the box because he's always playing with his back to goal. And that's just the way, because we try to do everything through the middle. We've got no width. Maybe better coaching would get the best out of Ayeti as well. Look, these results, these nights are the reason that the board are sitting on their hands, because they know 9 out of 10 times our squad, our players will get us through, will get us results, will get us second place. So that's why there's no change, just because we've got a half decent squad.
Another wee bit of positivity, and yes, Stephen, you were right. What about the bit with Eddie and the quick feet? Amazing. Some of the, Kevin, we can still hear you, pal. Some of the Eduard moments, JP, in that second half were sublime.
Yeah, they were pretty tasty. You mean the one where he put his foot on the ball?
And he just turns, he turns round, he has a look around the whole stadium and then knocks it away. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, that was pretty fun. I know I like that, although I didn't want to do that because I know who that is referring to, unfortunately. I liked him when he played for Man United, not for them. But I thought Eddie was good tonight. He looked lively, and I was pleased for him getting another goal, because that's him now. I think he's top goal scorer, isn't he? He must be.
Yeah. What's he up to, 17?
Aye, but I mean, like, a clear out in front, like, not just Celtic top goal scorer, he must be top goal scorer in the league. So that's good for him on a personal note. Somebody said in the comments, I thought we were doing the post-match analysis in the Man City game. I don't know what that means, but it reminded me of something I was going to say. Did you see in the game the other day where they were lining up their wall and one of their players laid down behind, laid along behind the wall, basically? I've never seen that happen before. It's basically if the wall jumps and somebody hits a shot low, then there's somebody laid down on the pitch to let the ball hit off them. It's like a new that's sort of crept in. Gary Neville was just like, it's a load of nonsense, you know. he just sort of absolutely rubbished it. Has been ridiculous, like telling the guy to get off the ground. But I just thought I'd mention that, because I was waiting on maybe St Mirren copying it when we were lining up a free kick, but they didn't.
No, absolutely. And K&M, great picture of Eric Cantona and your avatar there. We've got the Bens this season, but anyone who watched the first half will know exactly where you're coming from. Kevin, have you joined us? Have you rejoined us? You were going a little bit fuzzy there for a moment or two.
Am I disappearing?
You're back. So looking ahead to this weekend, we're up against...
I'm back. I'm not 100% sure.
Yes, you are.
Back or no.
Yes, you are. Looking ahead to... He's having a wee parted for one. Looking ahead to this weekend, Kevin, we're up against St Johnstone. In terms of the consistency, it looks as though there might be a forced change. I didn't quite catch Lenny's interview post-match, so please let me know if he gave us an update on Welsh. Are we stringing a run of results together here? Are we going to save a little bit of face, as Russell says, maybe cut the gap down even to single figures would be nice, wouldn't it?
Let's aim big, eh? Let's end the season unbeaten. Let's no lose a game from now to the end of the season. Let's go for it. So starting with St Johnstone again on Sunday, we take it one game at a time. Hopefully another 4-0 victory. It's a tough place to go, but tonight was a tough place to go as well, eh? So hopefully we've turned a wee bit of a corner and we can boost on for now to the end of the season, go unbeaten.
We've spoken a wee bit about the transfers and how that's going to work. We spoke earlier about loan deals and how, as much as we don't like them because it doesn't give you the long-term plan, we might have to rely on them. We might even have to rely on bringing some of our loanees back and utilising some of these players. I'm thinking more of the younger guys like O'Connor and possibly Robertson. I don't know if guys like Shved and Hendry and Bio are ever going to make an impact at Celtic Park. But one thing that I find interesting is David Stalker. Welcome to the show, David. I'd keep John Joe next season on loan again. You know, it's a good point, because when we had El Yunusi in, I'm pretty sure first time round there was no option to buy at that stage, but we obviously renegotiated another deal and got him in for a second season. For me, I don't think he's been outstanding, JP, but he's shown enough that if I was given the option, especially when you look at a right back situation, I would keep someone like John Joe Kenny on a longer term loan deal.
Yeah, he wasn't by any means, a standout tonight. His position wasn't really brought into play a lot tonight. It was more about, Turnbull and Rogic, and then latterly Christie. Kenny, didn't really see a lot of the ball certainly not going forward anyway. But I think, as he gets more games under his belt for us, he seems like the type of player that we should be certainly looking to try and keep a hold of. I don't know. What had he done at Everton? Had he played a lot at Everton, or like a handful of games?
He hadn't played recently, because I remember Neil Lennon being asked if he was match fit, and he said that he had been on the bench recently. So he hadn't played recently for Everton, but of course he had his spell elsewhere, and he played a lot of games when he went out on loan. So I think, there's always that period as well, JP, in Scottish football, for people to try and get up to the pace of it, because we know it's a wee bit more chaotic than even the English game, going by a lot of the comments by players coming up from that league. But in terms of a right back, I've already mentioned this. You go right back to Lustig. I don't think even Frimpong was an out and out right back. I don't think we've replaced Lustig effectively.
Yeah. No, I don't think we have either. And I like the fact that he's a Scouser. He knows the sort of the English game. He'll know the Scottish game from watching it. His English is obviously. He speaks English, so he's not got that kind of battle against him. Maybe in the same way Laxalt has, because Laxalt's English I don't think is great. So I mean, I'm not being anti people that can't speak English, but I just think for people that are fitting into our side, they need to hit the ground running, because they ultimately they do. I think he would be somebody that they could look at. If we could, I don't know what sort of money. Who knows what sort of money he's on at Everton? It could be ridiculous. It's the English league. It's even fringe players in the Premier League in England are probably on absolutely eye-watering money. So who knows?
Apologies to Kevin and Russell in advance, but this is a biggie. Coming in from Facebook, when Ryan Christie was on loan and came back, he couldn't believe his luck. He was in that first team and his game went up 3 levels. Now with the last season, he's under the impression we need him, and his head's been turned. Not for me. Give me a full squad of Turnbulls all day long, humble, hard-working, and there to do his part for the team. He pulls the shirt on. Long live ACSOM. Lovely wee bit of positivity. I mean, it's difficult to tap into the mentality when Ryan Christie came in and it was all guns blazing, and then he's levelled off, and I get that. But another point I'm going to bring up, and I find this quite interesting as well. What do you think of this? Mr. 1% King, and you're commenting on YouTube, we are playing with freedom now and no pressure. Now, Neil Lennon has spoken a few times this season, Kevin Graham, about the pressure that we've been under in relation to the 10 in a row. Do you subscribe to that? We're playing with a little bit more freedom now that we've almost mathematically lost the league.
It's true, I reckon Rangers have been playing with no pressure all this season because we've been nowhere near them either. So it works both ways here. If that is the case, then again that's down to the coaching staff. That's been poor coaching, that they've not managed to take the pressure off the players to allow them to play with that freedom all season.
See, another thing, and I think this is important to go back to the John Joe Kenny, just to dart back to that point, JP. I do think he gives us more balance, I think when you look at Frimpong, particularly when he came into the side, he was an exciting player. He had us on our feet. He had that knack of taking out 2 guys without even thinking about it. I think a lot of the managers sussed him out eventually. But as a defender, I think John Joe Kenny gives us a much better balance at the back. I'm not saying he's an outstanding player. We've not seen that quite yet, but he certainly does give us that balance across the back. And that's all important, particularly when you look at how topsy-turvy the defence has been this season.
Yeah, I think his height, he's got a bit better build about him, and his height is there for all to see. He looks strong, not afraid to put in a tackle. In fact, I think if I look at my how pro show is this, I've got notes. Did he?
So you did watch the game?
Oh, I did watch the game. Yeah. I know I've not got a note about him, a Kenny tackle. I thought he maybe put in a tackle. No, Taylor put in a couple of good sort of last ditch tackles to stop crosses coming in, but Kenny's capable of that as well. From what I've seen of him so far, he's not shy in putting in a tackle. So I like that. I like
JP,
that.
43rd minute, according to my notes, there was a very important tackle made by John Joe Kenny. There you go.
Yeah, it was the first half. I've got it. 43rd minute, Kenny tackle. There we go. I know. I do think he definitely. As much as Frimpong had that kind of gallousness going forward, I do think a lot of the time Frimpong didn't know what he was going to do next, and that might get ironed out over in Germany, and it might not. I honestly don't. It'll go either way with him. He'll either go on to be somebody. I was speaking to somebody the other day who thinks he'll go on to be like a 20-30 million pound player, and I was like, I'm not too sure about that. I would hang my hat on that. It could happen, but it could very easily go the other way as well, and you just never hear from him again.
I think this is a good point, Russell. From my man Sis 67, Actun Baby. That was another decent album, by the way.
Spot on, by the way. That comment is spot on. That's who I was over in my head. Adam Matthews is who
Adam Matthews, similar style to his game. Where is he now? Charlton Athletic, I think. I think sometimes that's all you need. We had the type of player that Frimpong was, exciting, taking on players, trying to get up the park, trying to create. Sometimes you just need a full-back that can defend and do the basics.
Yeah, and I think Lustig, I think towards the end of his Celtic career was probably undervalued when you look back now. He became, I wouldn't say so much as a whipping boy, because it was obviously still really successful seasons, but Lustig, I remember in particular, getting quite a lot of stick for perhaps he's not lacking in that sort of department, the attacking flair side of things. But you look how reliable, how much you could trust him. You're talking about 6, 7 out of 10s. Kev was talking about earlier. I mean, Lustig was a guarantee for that every game, and I thought his temperament, which is so underrated in football as well. He just had an amazing temperament for the game. He had a devilish side to him, as you've always seen. And I think we've lacked since Lustig that type of player. And Kenny, in fairness to him, very early days, of course, but he does look steady, both mentally as well as obviously, he looks like an engine. And I think it was a good point JP said. Physically, he's just a bit more. Obviously, he's bigger than Frimpong, who's not, but he is. He does seem a bit, more. I don't know, more of a presence about him as well. But also, I like the fact he seems very level-headed, and the fact he played in Germany for Schalke, for like 30, 40 games last year as well, means if you can adapt there, then that experience obviously helps you being able to adapt in Scotland as well. But the fee that ACSOM bandied about is 10 million quid. So
really,
yeah,
10 million. Wow.
I know. So that part of that, I think Schalke were keen to get him permanently. It was 10 million they were quoted. But again, like Paul said, just to quickly finish, is players like El Yunusi's value is only plummeted by coming to us on loan. I don't know why. I'm not advocating come to Celtic and will ruin your valuation. But if he was to sign another loan deal like the comment suggested, maybe another year there, he's further out the picture at Everton. Maybe that 10 million becomes less because he's only been doing it in the SPFL as opposed to somewhere like the Bundesliga. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry, just on the Adam Matthews thing, the commentator made a point of saying that the last time we won so comprehensively at St Mirren was 4-0, and it was in 2014, and I'd already looked it up to find out that stat so I could have it for this purpose. But the last time we won 4-0 was January 2014 under Neil Lennon, and Adam Matthews was right back. So there you go. And the team was Forster, Matthews, Ambrose, Van Dijk, Izagiri, Forrest, Ledley, Stokes, Common, Mulgrew. Mental, eh?
What I liked about Matthews was the fact he could play right and left back. He was very adaptable that way. And he was on a free transfer a couple of seasons ago, in actual fact, when we were looking for a right back. But I don't know if he got anybody too excited. I always remember he scored against Arbroath, didn't he? Remember that in the Cup? Scored against Arbroath?
I remember that.
A peachy goal. Absolutely crackery goal.
It was 1-0. We beat Arbroath 1-0.
1-0.
Yep.
I was at Arbroath that night.
So, again, a convincing result.
I've ever been at a football game apart from the new camp.
Is it? Mings was Real Mallorca in the 1990s. That was cold. It was on the side of a mountain. Very cold. And Stenhousemuir against Alba was pretty cold as well. Oakleview, is that right? The Warriors. Now, one final thing. I've already asked Kevin Graham about his prediction for this weekend. JP, what are you thinking this weekend? Can we extend this winning run?
It depends on. Kev made a good point not that long ago when he said about our like Lenny Ball and the whole sort of premise of Lenny Ball is like hoping that our players turn up on the night. And that's kind of it, like why were we not able to do what we did today against St Mirren at Celtic Park? How is that team, everyone was going on about like, oh, St Mirren were so well coached, like everybody knew their job and blah blah blah. It's like tonight we got the first goal, which was a key thing. Fair enough, one of their strikers got injured, looked like he did his shoulder, and I obviously wasn't going to do the Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon thing and bang it back into place in the dressing room. But I hope he's all right. By the way, I'm not pouring scorn on his injury. But that might have affected their game plan a little bit by having to bring on somebody. But why were we not able to do that? I mean, we've just pumped them 4-0 and we got beat at home off them 2-1 11 days ago. That's mental. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all in the footballing sphere of things. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't make any sense. So we go to St Johnstone. We start with our tails up. The players feel good about themselves. We score a goal. Who's to say we don't go ahead and do the same thing as we did tonight to St Johnstone? I would fully expect us to do that, but it's just about what is it going to be, Jekyll or Hyde, that turns up at the weekend, because we don't know.
I do hope that he goes for a wee bit of consistency, Russell. I mean, Ayeti, it wasn't his best game tonight, but he needs games. He needs game time, doesn't he? And I think that he needs to stick with that. If Welsh is fit, which we hope he is, we need to stick with the consistency at the back as well. What's your thoughts about this weekend's game?
Yeah, just in the Ayeti thing as well. I mean, playing with Edouard, I mean, it's, you've touched on how much of an improvement we're seeing in Edouard of late. Maybe Ayeti is playing a big part in that, whilst maybe not being spectacular himself. Edouard certainly looks a far freer spirit of late, and he's playing like with a bit of swagger about him again, which I've really enjoyed. As for the weekend, we just need to keep doing what we're doing. I would certainly think, on the back of what I watched tonight, I think Rogic and Turnbull both have to play. I think they complement each other really well. I think they are two bold players to have in your midfield, because we know neither of them are going to be tracking back much, but when you've got Callum McGregor and either a Brown or Sorrow, who love doing the dirty side of the game, and Callum McGregor's such an engine and someone who really does give you 110%. I think domestically, we should be looking to play our more luxury players at times, and express ourselves and play proper football, and I think Rogic and Turnbull tonight, as long as they play again at the weekend, I actually think we will rack up another one.
Well, let's hope so. We'll be covering the game as we always do. We'll be back tomorrow at 12:30. Thanks everybody for getting involved on the social media side of things. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, please do so. All that's left for me to say is thank you, Russell, Kevin Graham, and also JP Mason for joining me once again on A Celtic State of Mind.